Ladies and gentlemen, what a great day to celebrate our country's birthday. Happy 250th. I'm Rodney Gash. I'll be your Master of Ceremonies. I'm a Forward Township resident. So glad to see all of you here. And I'm going to start off by introducing and a big thank you to David English, who provided this amazing facility for us to use today. Thank you. My wife, Vicki, and I want to welcome you. I know she's here somewhere. Right there. And my son and grandson are here. And I was reflecting on Forward Township. I was actually raised in Forward Township for the first 5 years of my life. And without moving, I ended up in Evans City Borough. Because they annexed it. But here I am. My wife, Vicki, and I have lived here for the last 31 years. And Glen Eden Barn is the barn that my in-laws had out in Cranberry Township on Glen Eden Road, which is why we call it Glen Eden. And we're so happy to be able to host things like this, particularly for Forward Township and all of our friends here. Again, just a quick housekeeping, if you would turn your phones off, because as I understand it, George Washington gets a little upset when. So, and then restrooms. There is one on this floor, and it's through that door at the end of the hallway. If you need to use the facility now, you might want to go out and around and go in. That'll be fine. And then downstairs, there's the main bathrooms are down there. That's where we'll be receiving guests afterward. And you're welcome to stay and linger as long as you want. You can hang out on the deck. It's a beautiful day in Forward Township. I tell all of the couples that come here to get married, or they're looking at the barn, it never, ever rains in Forward Township on Saturday. That's how I sell it. But it's on this Sunday afternoon, we're happy. Yesterday, not so nice, right? So with that, I'm just going to hand off back to Rodney. And thanks again for everybody for coming. Please stand, and if you are able to, for the posting the colors by the Evans City Scout Troop 399. Remain standing for the singing of our national anthem.
Streaming. Thank you. That was wonderful. You can now be seated. Thank you for that wonderful rendition.
Shoulder your firelocks. To the left wheel. To the left of lead. Make ready. Reset. Fire. Cap it up, front load. Make ready. Reset. Fire. Go to your firelocks. To the left, face. To the front, march.
Thank you to Trent's company, French and Indian War reenactors, for that impressive salute to our nation. Let's have a round of applause. Yeah. I'm now going to ask you to stand again for the Scouts from Troop 457 in Zelienople will now present the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please place your right hand over your heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Please be seated, and I will welcome again the Circle of Friends Choir for our more musical, patriotic entertainment. Thank you. That was very inspiring. The Forward Township America 250 Committee was blessed with the involvement of 2 Seneca Valley seniors fulfilling their senior project. And I'd like to please ask for a warm welcome of Josh Radonovich, class of 2026, for his welcoming remarks.
Thank you, Ronnie. As our MC said, I'm Josh, of course, and welcome to my senior project. As most of you know, all seniors at Seneca Valley High School have to complete a senior project. Being part of today's celebration is mine. So how this all started is I learned from my teacher that Forward Township was offering the opportunity for 2 students to become involved with them to commemorate America's 250th anniversary. So it sounded pretty interesting, and I know the history around here is very intense with, oops, I guess I have to hold this close to my face. But anyway, so like with George Washington being around this area and how he almost got shot around this area, which you guys will learn about. So I also learned a lot about how local government runs, and yeah. I also wanted to say, so we had another senior project student. I don't know if Jeb Keller's here or any of the Keller family. Here, stand up. So he had another senior project. If you want to come up here and talk about it, I'm kind of putting you on the spot here.
Mike, I don't need that. I think you can hear me, hopefully. I worked on the boat launch, which is the George Washington boat launch on Ashtock Road. I've made a plan to make that more accessible to all you guys so they can get to it better and just make it better and use it more often. So hopefully that'll be happening here soon, and keep a little eye out for that. Thanks.
All right, well, I better see all you guys buying canoes and kayaks after today. But I also wanted to say thank you to all our sponsors and all our youth for help. Oops. And a special, whatever. We're going off the script. I don't even care. But so I wanted to say a really big thank you to Susan for helping us here. I also want to say thank you to David and Tracy and for you for coming here, because I know being like the newspaper was being a big part of this and getting people's involvement and stuff like this. And if it wasn't for people, looking in the newspaper and stuff in the newsletter, none of you guys would probably be here. So I'll pass it back to Ronnie.
Thank you, Josh, for all your efforts that made this event a great success. History offers many twists and turns, and one of the most eventful twists happened right here in Forward Township 23 years before the Declaration of Independence that we celebrate today. It was a bitter cold December day in 1753 when George Washington, who was then just 21 years old, trudged through what is now Forward Township with his guide, Christopher Gist. To reminisce about that eventful time and to tell us how it shaped world and U.S. history, we welcome our special guests, George Washington and Christopher Gist, as portrayed by author and living historians Jason and Ken Cherry.
I must say, so many of you here today, and give thanks and blessings upon such a day of celebration. As I realized, I saw the men of Mr. Trent, man that I've seen, Mr. Gitz and I both saw on our day out from Wills Creek, who we passed with 17 horses heading to the forks of the Ohio. And what I did here, it was great to see them again as we... once again in passing. And I must admit, so many of you here today reminds me of the last time I was here in 1770, the last time that I actually graced the banks of the Forks of the Ohio, or what was known then as Pittsburgh, at the tavern of Mr. Semple, as of which this sort of rivals it with its bit of a good public house of good entertainment. And I must say, it's welcoming to come back in this area of what we know today as Western Pennsylvania at this time, or then when we were in the Ohio country. And I must say, as I sit here with Mr. Gist, that who would have thought, writing down my rough minutes there and handing it to his honorable governor, Robert Dinwiddie in Williamsburg, that this would be celebrated across the colonies. I felt almost embarrassed when I handed it to them, that I had but a day to show them my rough minutes and observations only, not my opinions of what happened. And as I was told the Honorable Robert Dinwiddie to hopefully give me more time to have this, it was already in print at Lot 48 at the printing house of Mr. Hunter. And it was already in circulation as we speak, in popularity, and of which I could have thought of a day of when I was here in this region. You call forward Township, but then it was just something that veered off our path, as Mr. Gist and I had, at this point, according to my journals, grabbed a pack and basically our provisions and our papers for the governor, the response from the French commandant, General Lagardier Saint-Pierre, and, realized that such importance was in my possession at this point, and jotting it so, we had come and veered off this path in this region when we fell into a large party of natives, and it was then that one such came forward and said to me and to Mr. Gist that he would show us the way back, of which we were trying to find, heading back from the French fort there. At this point, the headwaters, at least, of Piney Creek, that was somewhat soon near the Forks of the Ohio, that showed that we were on the right path. But as I said, we did not show my opinions and just my observations. And it would be at that time that the native would veer off almost northwesterly. And it was realized that Mr. Gist was the one that sort of noticed it, and of which I even realized that this didn't seem the way of what we were going. And as the native went, he basically told us that he would get to his cabin, as of which I showed fear, especially when he offered to carry my gun in addition to my pack. I was trusting, but not that trusting. And as you can see, or at least read about, I realized that this was an opportunity that had been put in place since the beginning. And as we sort of walked and watched the natives sort of venture ahead of us, it was then as we crossed into a meadow in which my feet were very tired. Even after getting rid of these boots that you see me wearing for such an occasion, I had actually got rid of these and put in the Indian walking dress with moccasins and such. Easier to travel and felt good on my feet, but the boots have already, over hundreds of miles, had worn down my feet, and I wished to rest ahead at the clearing, at least by the water. And it was at that time when I would happen to look up as we got up a slight knoll, and as we looked into the distance, at least, or at least I thought it was a distance with the being early that morning, the native was somewhat closer, probably from here to, I don't know, we would probably estimate maybe 15 paces or so, and turned and fired upon us. I wasn't sure who, and I did not put this in my journal, but I wasn't sure if he fired at Mr. Gist or myself. But his intentions were, in fact, not good, because we see that he fired upon us, and it was something that I was not unable to put into print my actual feelings of that day, as of which sort of questioned what I was sent to do, especially with stuff that were lurking in the area. And Mr. Gist could share my opinion on such a journey here, as well as he had also written down his observations.
We found out that mainly that Mr. Washington or myself were frightened to no list And the first thing Mr. Washington said to me after we got to this clearing, as the native turned around and he fired, as we said, maybe 15 paces. And at this point, Mr. Washington said, "Are you shot?" And I said, "No." And at this point, I took my tomahawk and went as close as I can and wanted to kill him. And Mr. Washington said, "No, if we do this, we will start a war." So at this point, we had him join our party. And we knew that he was from the area. And being in this area of murdering town, as they once called it, we were certain that we needed to get back to the Forks. So we were going, and as Mr. Washington said, he was taking us in a different direction. So at this point, when we took him into custody, we ourselves built a fire, and we let him stay with us until about 9 o'clock that night. And then he took off. There was a heavy amount of snow, so we could follow the tracks if we needed to. But at this point, we were ready to go, and we were going to travel once the native left us. Now, he did reload his gun, and he took off because he said that he was probably close to his cabin. We never did. Now, I myself told Mr. Washington that I never trusted him in the first place because I think we saw this native at John Kier's at Fort Venango. And that was one of the things that we recognized. But at this point, we were lucky enough, and how things would have changed for what we are doing today. And I will turn it back to Mr. Washington.
It is believed, at least, and as Mr. Gist informed me, that when the large party of natives and the Indian that came forward to us, he called Mr. Gist by his Indian name, Anasana, of which he had told me and been familiar with back in 1750, when he had given the word to those large party of natives at Pickawillalnalani there in 1750. And at this time, he realized that the fear that was striking in us when he realized that the native recognized him and knew him from afar, and that he was there in what he believed at John Kier's there at Venango. And at this point, we realized we had to hurry as possible. With the native gone, we realized he might contact a large party of in his area of where he lived in his cabin, close to what was then as what we known as Murdering Town, and where Mr. Gist had known a Mr. Owens, John Owens, his full Christian name, had an actual Indian at the Indian town of Murdering Town. He had an Indian cabin there, which he traded, and of which we had passed on the way up as well. But as we veered off that path, leaving Murdering Town and finally reaching the headwaters of Piney Creek, today I believe it's known as Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, and we realized that we were on our right track and right path again to finally realize that. And, you know, as we talk about this area and what happened in this region, at least to both of us, Mr. Gist and I, we realized that the importance of it all. I stress more than saying so, because as I returned and we arrived, I left Mr. Gist at his basically at his house there on the mouth of Wills Creek. And then I returned and rode to finish to Williamsburg, which I arrived on January 16th, 1754, as of which I delivered my papers, the French response, and then which the Honorable Governor wished to say, like I said earlier, of my rough diction of words that showed what we experienced on this trip, not only going to the French fort at Fort LeBoeuf, but the return as well. And it was one of those things where we realized the importance as it circulated in writing, because as I would attend balls and gatherings such as we're doing today, people would know of my writings at this point. I realized that I was more than just Lawrence's younger half-brother, founder of the Ohio Company, and man, now they knew who my name was, of George Washington, and as we would travel and how I would see Mr. Gist again here during the French and Indian War. But there's also, we must realize, it wasn't just the two of us. Yes, we took our baggage with Mr. von Braun on the way back, but there were several of us that went. 10 others accompanied us. We picked up more in the Logstown on the way up, about 18 miles below the forks of the Ohio, as of which, you know, we would not have been able to get there to the French forts through those miry savannas and swamps without the half-king, known as Tanarison, and the White Thunder, and the hunter that hunted bear and deer for us, and all those servitors, Mr. Curran and Mr. Stewart and Mr. Jenkins, all these men that were with us, that members either of the Ohio Company or those that traded with these natives in Logstown, all of them, 12 of us that traveled up, and then eventually we left behind as we traveled to be quicker to get to to Williamsburg, our destination. So it's great to see all of you today to commemorate such a celebration of what happens, because at that time we weren't sure the importance of what our journey was, and now we do. Seeing how this is, as we get ready to celebrate as we call it, the birth of America here today in 2026. So, Mr. Gist, shall we?
Shall we?
Off to Wills Creek?
Off to Wills Creek, sir.
Lead the way.
Another big round of applause for our first president, George Washington, and Christopher Gist. So today we celebrate 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence from Great Britain. That declaration led to the Revolutionary War, which eventually led to settlement in western Pennsylvania of war veterans, New Englanders, and European immigrants. To give us a brief history of early Forward Township, please welcome Natalie Ripper Price, President of the Evans City Area Historical Society.
Up into the Revolutionary War, Forward Township was inhabited only by Native Americans. By the end of the 1600s, this area was considered the territory of the Seneca Nation, part of the Iroquois Confederacy. They were called the Keepers of the Western Door, since their territory was on the western side of lands claimed by the Iroquois Confederacy. The Delaware, the Lenni Lenape, came to this area between the late 1600s and early 1700s, when they were pushed out of their territory around the Delaware River by white settlers. Consequently, by the time of the French and Indian War, this was not only the land of the Seneca Nation, but other displaced tribes also lived here, such as the Lenni Lenape, the Shawnees, and probably the Munshees. So these were the tribes that lived in this area when Washington traveled north to Fort Le Boeuf in 1753 to deliver a message from Governor Dinwiddie of Virginia to the French, asking them to withdraw. This message was not well received, but fortunately they allowed Washington to make his return journey, the journey that almost ended here in Forward Township at the hand of what is believed to be a Lenape. What came to be called the French and Indian War began in 1754 with Washington's skirmish at Jumonville Glen and his surrender of his rapidly built fort, Fort Necessity. Then on July 9th of 1755, the British fought the Battle of the Monongahela, also called the Battle of Braddock's Field. They were defeated by the French and Canadian troops with their Native American allies. Major General Braddock was killed, but fortunately Washington again lived on to fight another day. During the French and Indian War, the Delawares and Shawnees fought with the French against the British. Apparently, they considered the French to be the lesser of the evils. When the Treaty of Paris ended the war between England and France in 1763, France lost their claim to Canada and to all lands east of the Mississippi River. Every spring when farmers in the Brownsdale Road area turn over their soil, points such as arrowheads are exposed, and we remember our first inhabitants. A small Native American village is believed to have been located nearby in what later became Gillian's Mill and then Buell's. Land located in southwestern Pennsylvania, including Fort Pitt, was opened to settlement in 1768. But it wasn't until 1784 that the last area in northwestern Pennsylvania, including Butler County, was purchased from the Six Nations of Native Americans by the Treaty of Fort Stanwix. After the Revolutionary War, what would become Forward Township was part of the depreciation lands. These lands were given to soldiers in exchange for their military pay. but in depreciated currency. However, much of the land was bought up by speculators such as Benjamin Chew and his son Benjamin Chew Jr., who bought several plots in the late 1780s. According to the map of Butler County, 1858, they still owned 5 plots of land in Forward Township at that time. Peter McKinney is believed to have been one of the first settlers in Butler County and the first settler in what would later become Forward Township. Peter was a fifer and a drummer in the Revolutionary War. After serving 7 more years in the Indian Wars, he married Mary Shorts at Braddock Field, Westmoreland County in 1791, and the following year he purchased about 400 acres for a mere $178 and built a cabin. Peter had the reputation of being a great hunter, since this was a requirement of living on this heavily wooded frontier, since it took time for land to be cleared and crops to be grown. His daughter Elizabeth, who was born in March of 1792, is believed to be the first white child born in the county. When Elizabeth died at the young age of 29 in 1821, she was buried on her parents' farm between what is now Spitaller School Road and Rybald Roads. Her grave is now in the middle of the Wilson's Ridge development, surrounded by a white fence, not too far from TJ's Hideaway. Peter McKinney is also known to be the founder of Petersburg, which later became Quannaquenessing. Peter and his wife are buried in the White Oak Springs Presbyterian Church Cemetery, where the DAR has marked his grave as well. The Critchlow brothers, James and William, came here from Westmoreland County. They were both sharpshooters in the Revolutionary War. William was called the hero of Saratoga, since it was said that he shot General Fraser, who was second in command to General Burgoyne, and changed the way that particular battle was going, and they felt that it made quite a difference. After the war in 1795, they were awarded depreciation lands in what would become Quannaquenessing Township and later Forward Township. William received about 400 acres and James about 200 acres, and they settled here in 1796. William is buried along Critchlow School Road, and you can see that the school was named after them, and between Brownsdale and Valencia Roads, near where the Critchlow School formerly was. In 1800, Butler County was formed. It originally had only 4 townships: Buffalo, Middlesex, Quannaquenessing, and Slippery Rock. As was often the case, mills were the very first industry that came into an area, and Dave and Adam Gillian bought property from the earliest settler, Peter McKinney, in 1802. David built a mill sometime in the early 1800s. His son, Barnett Gillian, rebuilt the mill in 1827, and in 1850, Henry Buell purchased what was known as the Old Gillian Mill from Adam Gillian, Barnett's son. 3 years later, Buell purchased the Gillian farm too, including the lovely home that had been built by Adam's son, David Gillian, in 1836. This historic home still stands today and is nearly 200 years old. There was once a small family cemetery for the Gillian family, but sometime in the late 60s to early 70s, the monuments fell victim to vandalism and were toppled into the channel of the Quannaquenessing Creek. Fortunately, the inscriptions on their gravestone had been previously recorded by a neighbor, so we know at least who was there, who was in those particular graves. Efforts are being led by Evans City Mayor and Historical Society Board member Dean Zinkan to find and retrieve these stones from the creek. In 1804, the 4 townships of Butler County were further divided into 13 townships, and they included Cranberry, Middlesex, and Quannaquenessing townships. Joseph Ashe was another of the early pioneers of Forward Township. He was born in Kentucky in 1771. While still in Kentucky, he was captured by Indians as a young boy, along with his brother Sylvester, his mother, and a younger sister. He lived with those Indians for 2 years, during which time his mother and sister were killed, and eventually Joseph and his brother were released, but not until the Indians had split their ears, probably to identify them as past prisoners or current tribe members. Joseph traveled from Kentucky through Westmoreland County to western Pennsylvania. He was hired to carry the mail part of the way between Fort Pitt and the Old Stone House, possibly the section from Breckneck, Evansburg, to the Old Stone House. It was said that he used his coonskin hat as a mailbag. His travels likely took him through what later would become Forward Township. He must have liked what he saw, because when he married Sarah Powell in 1803, they settled on a 212-acre tract of fertile bottomland in 1804 and built a log cabin near the intersection of what is now Route 68, Brownsdale Road, and Old 68. Joseph died from his injuries in 1811 after a tree he was cutting fell on him. Joseph's two sons, Isaac and Sylvester, inherited the farm. Sylvester married Martha Boggs, daughter of Robert Boggs, the first settler of what was first called Boggs Mills and later became Evans City. When oil was discovered on the farm during the 1888 oil boom, J. Anderson Ash, son of Sylvester Ash, signed an oil lease with T.W. Phillips. By 1900, they had 9 oil wells that was operating on the Ash farm. And thanks to that oil money, J. Anderson Ash built a fine farmhouse in 1889 on the other side of the road, which is now Old 68 east of Evans City. The log cabin has long been gone, but this house still stands on the north side of Old 68. The Ash farm was purchased by and is still owned by the Ready Green Turf Farm. The memory of the Ashes is preserved in the names of the places and roads named after them, things like Ashstock Road, Ash Avenue, Ashstock Park. Another early pioneer was John Waldron. He was the son of Revolutionary War veteran Samuel V. Waldron, the first settler of Wolf Creek Township in Mercer County. John Waldron served in the War of 1812 in Perry's Lake Erie Squadron. In 1816, he moved to Butler County and he purchased a farm north of Evansburg. His son, William S. Waldron, was a teacher, one of the school directors in Forward Township for 3 years, and starting in 1882, a director for the new independent school district of Evans City. W.S. Waldron was also a county auditor and was elected to the legislature in 1872. According to the 1883 history of Butler County, one of the first mills was a horse-powered mill on the Adam Brown farm. Then pioneers Moses and Brinton Robbins built the first grist and sawmills on Glade Run. The mill on Glade Run, which was later known as Brown's Mill, was built about 1820 by Major Reese Evans, brother of Thomas Evans, founder of Evansburg. Subsequent owners were Adam Brown and R.H. Brown. This mill was still in operation until sometime after 1883. It was located near where Brown's Mill and Brownsdale Roads meet. Finally, in 1854, the 13 townships were further divided to form 33 townships, parts of which were originally Connoquenessing and Middlesex townships, and possibly Cranberry. A bit of Cranberry became Forward Township. The Evans City Historical Society holds some of the old tax records of Forward Township. They are primarily from the 1930s, but one still exists that is from 1866. If you had ancestors that lived in Forward Township at this time, these records can provide a snapshot of what their lives were like at the time. If you do have an ancestor that lived in Forward Township, please feel free to contact us and we will provide a copy of the information about them from this book. The 1866 tax records revealed that Henry Buell, who had purchased Gillian's Mill, was by far the richest man in the township. At that point, he owned 2 mills, a grist mill and a sawmill, more than 78 acres, 2 horses, 4 cows, 2 oxen, a buggy, a carriage, and $300 of money at interest, which I assume is put into savings account. But interestingly enough, his lovely home was not taxable. They're taxing his livestock and stuff like that. But that beautiful home that he lived in was not taxed whatsoever at that point in time. The tax collector was Andrew Boggs. He was the son of Robert Boggs, who was the first settler in what later would become Evans City. Andrew purchased 76 acres in what would become Forward Township, and he was a prominent figure. He was active in local politics. He became a school director and later a Butler County commissioner from 1855 to 1858. So these are a few, but certainly not all, the early pioneers of Forward Township. And lastly, there were 8 one-room or 2-room schools in a couple cases in Forward Township. I have a list of them downstairs at our table if you would like to take a look at it. I will mention only one here, and that is the STAM school, the remnants of which still remain on Brownsdale Road. It operated for nearly 100 years, from 1854 to 1953, and we have models of this school on sale. Please stop by our table downstairs to get your free America 250 pens. We have some sample newsletters down there and membership forms. Memberships would get you notification of when we're having our history lectures about 4 times in the year, and also about 4 times a year a historic newsletter. We also have plat maps down there of Forward Township of 1858 and 2012. If you had an ancestor family here, I'd like to just take a look and see if you can spot them on that. I don't have extra copies, but you're welcome to come and take a look. And last but not least, we have several models for sale. One is the Christ House and Christ Barn. That was located, of course, on Christ Road, which was named after it. As if you notice, a whole lot of the schools roads were named after where schools were. So in this case, it was the Christ Road named after this. And that's in nearby Quinessing Township. We have Night of the Living Dead ornaments and chapel model, another kind of exciting event of which this area is known for. And we have new models of the B&O and trolley station that was in Evans City. And recently we just got model of the Evans City School, how it looked from 1989 on. So stop on down.
Thank you, Natalie. So as we approach the end of our formal program, I am pleased and honored to introduce the person who was the driving force behind this America 250 event, Susan Oliver Stowe. Susan had the vision more than a year ago of what this event could be, and she gathered a diverse group of volunteers. And thanks to Susan's enthusiasm, encouragement, and sometimes prodding, our committee found solutions and willing partners for every challenge that arose. So show our appreciation for this wonderful event, Susan Oliver Stowe.
Well, thank you, Rodney. So, like everybody says, you can't do an event on your own. It always takes a committee, or it takes, other people involved. It wasn't just me. So the whole committee has worked very hard for quite a while. I think almost 2 years when we started the first concept at a Board of Supervisors meeting. But as the chairperson of the board now, I was like, no, we're going to do this because it's important. It's important to know our history. It's important to remember our history. The organizations that participated, they have their information tables downstairs. And they do have some wonderful things to teach you and show you, and that you can pass on to the next generation. Because I'm very passionate about that, because my family has had at least one person in every generation serve in the U.S. military since the Revolutionary War. Yeah, it started with Lyman Hall, and his signature is right there on the Declaration of Independence. And so it started from there, and today it continues on with my youngest daughter, Ashley, who's in the Air Force, who's here. There she is. And then my soon-to-be son-in-law, Taylor, who is also in the Air Force. And the next generation, we do have a couple of young people in our family who are in elementary school who are talking about going into the military, and one who's very devoted to that idea, and so we look forward to seeing him join the military lineage that we have. But as a nation, we are not free unless we have the brave out there taking care of things. And so one of the things we wanted to do today was honor our military. And we have a wonderful soloist for you to hear. Her name is Brady Basinski. Did I say it right? I got it, okay. And Brady and Miss Amy Capp, who is our pianist, will be regaling you with the service songs. So if you are a veteran and your song is sung, please stand up, because we're very proud of you, and we know that you're proud of your service. And so before I go on, because I will go on, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors, all of our donors. You have a list in your program. The one organization that's not in there is Ace Hardware. They came in and dropped off a bunch of water, and we're like, wow, that's really cool. Thank you very much. So we want to add our thank you to Ace Hardware that's there in Evans City also. So now I'd like to turn things over to Brady and to Amy for our patriotic salute.
In times of war and peace, and never have we struck it yet, in spite of foeman's might, who cheered our crews and cheered again when showing how to fight. We're always ready for the call, we place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, a Coast Guard we are for you. From the halls of the mountains, the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles on the air and land and sea. first to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for ample waves of green, for purple mountain majesties above the rotted plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy glory with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet who stern in passion distress, offer fair for freedom beat, a Christ of wilderness. America, America, thine bend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for attending today. The celebration continues downstairs. There's food, beverages, and music. And did I mention homemade cookies? I think so. They're down there too. I think there's still some left. The stairs to the back will take you downstairs. What's that? Oh, okay. Oh, there's steps there too. Thank you. And if walking is a challenge, there'll be a golf cart to shuttle you downstairs. Feel free to mingle with your neighbors. Please visit the tables of the volunteer organizations that help make this event happen. And be sure to check out plans for the Forward Township History Park coming this fall, we hope. So thank you again for commemorating our nation's 250th birthday.
I'm not breaking in the line, I'm just getting pictures.
You're all good.
Mr. Beam, smile for the camera.
Still. Probably never should. You know, it was either that or I got two with spikes.
Historical Society, represented by Joyce. I get a shot of all the little bombs. Were you upstairs in time to sing?
No, I didn't sing.
That's what I thought.
But that's okay.
The mayor. Ew. Out of that. Very nice.
Craig Davidson from Evans City quilted, embroidered the 250. Yeah.
Very, very nice.
We made that. Rita and I.
Nice.
This guy here, the sixth generation.
Oh my goodness.